Hotline Miami, a neon-soaked nightmare of a game which screams style as it blasts you with 80s nostalgia, pipes hard-edged beat-driven electronic music into your lug holes, and whose high-octane gameplay challenges you every step of the way with one-hit kills and brutally satisfying combat. Now, when I first saw MisBloody on the eShop, the impression that I got from its screenshots and description was that of a game which blends Hotline Miami with classic Grand Theft Auto, and it so very near could have been, but unfortunately, as you'll soon see, that's not the case at all. So drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more Nintendo Switch content, and let's check it out. So unlike either of the previously mentioned classics, MisBloody contains nothing whatsoever in the way of a storyline, and after selecting your save slot, you're instantly dropped into the game and directed to your first mission by means of an on-screen arrow. And the Grand Theft Auto looking segments all take place within this small city area with a few wandering pedestrians dotted about the place and cars driving around, which you can then hijack and mow down said pedestrians with, and very little else. Alternatively, you can use the cars to transport you between missions indicated by these red portal looking things, and once inside them, gameplay takes on a familiar format, and if you played Hotline Miami, the action takes place from a top-down perspective, with the majority of them giving you the simple task of eliminating all of the enemies in order to complete the mission. Now, you're able to snag a small selection of weapons along the way, either off the floor or from downed enemies, which you can then use to eliminate targets. However, almost immediately you'll discover that this is going to be no mean feat, and that they weren't bullshitting you when they mention of it being a brutal test in the game's eShop description. Whereas Hotline Miami is challenging but gives players the initiative, providing them with the tools they need to get the job done, and multiple routes through levels, offering room for experimentation and efficient clearing of them, MisBloody on the other hand funnels you towards a single solution. Right from the get-go, you'll realise that there's little to no way to deviate from what the developer had in mind for it when they created a level, and normally this would be perfectly fine, had this been an action puzzler with some kind of logical deduction to be made with its puzzles. However, trial, error and a hefty sprinkle of luck is the name of the game here, with reasoning and reactions taking a back seat in most instances. To give you an example of what I mean though, this is the second mission of the game. And here, I begin the mission with no weapons despite me just leaving the last mission with a pistol in hand, but I'm expected to grab this baseball bat and then whack both the gunman and the rival baseball batter before they manage to take me down. Now, you can perform a dash maneuver which affords you some amount of evasion, but the reaction times and the accuracy of the enemies defies belief, with the melee enemies bum rushing you faster than you can say "not the face please." And if you finally do manage to make it through the entrance area, you've got the rest of them to take down, but one wrong move and back you go. This isn't the only example though, and nearly every mission begins with this kind of bullshit. The third mission, for example, gives me a slow firing shotgun but then pits me against 4 pistol enemies and another baseballer, and point to note here, there are also no twin stick controls in the game and you can only aim in the direction that you're travelling, making reaction shots and precise aiming a near impossibility. But I think the best example of the kind of bullshit you can expect is with mission 9. Just take a look at how this mission begins. So I think it's fair to say that the game is not very fair at all, and in fact it's borderline sadistic at times. And while there is still at least an ounce of logic to be had in at least a few of its missions, these moments of reasoning are overshadowed by the sheer amount of brute forcing you're going to have to do, as you repeatedly get one-tapped by enemies, restart missions over and over, and pray to RNGesus for the stars to align, all the while battling a bad control scheme and poor hitbox detection. Now, the developers do attempt to mix things up a little, with one of the missions I played having you drive a car through the city picking up diamonds within a time limit, though the map markers only change when you pick up a diamond, so again, a game of trial and error here. There's also a mission containing a simple block pushing puzzle to open a gate up before killing a couple of enemies, and finally an elimination level set out in the city, though the enemies in it simply rush directly at you and the camera angle is set in way too close, so you need to shoot them off screen before they actually get to you. The final straw for me though was in Mission 13, where once again I began with no weapons and a nearby pistol was guarded by a baseball guy who instantly bashes your skull in the second you attempt to pick it up. And even if you manage to snag it and pop off a shot, this will then alert another baseball guy and a machine gunner. So the only real way to deal with it is to exploit the game's dumb AI and shoddy hitboxes. Now I honestly have no idea what the developer was thinking with this one. Overall, my time spent playing MisBloody was one of frustration and repetition, and it had all the foundations of a great little game, but it's let down by poor execution and some really questionable design decisions. If they'd toned down the difficulty factor, thought a little more about the scenarios they were building, and even perhaps made it more of an open world affair, I think they could definitely have had a hit on their hands. A nice little throwback to the original Grand Theft Auto with the fast-paced gunplay of Hotline Miami. But as it is, unless you're a masochist who enjoys repeatedly playing the first few seconds of a level over and over, I'd recommend giving MisBloody a bloody miss. That about does it for this review though, but are you going to be giving this one a chance? And if you've already played it, did you find it as frustrating as I did? Let me know down below. For now though, thanks once again to the patrons of the channel for their ongoing support and to you the viewers for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.